podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
OnlyFans star Lily Phillips wants to find out how many men she can get to leap on her lily pad.
We are all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the King of Podcasts.
And to think, I thought we were going to have a nice quiet week here amongst each other, talk about something else other than the depraved and debaucherous of the year 2024, and then we get Lily Phillips. Look, it happened last week. It's still kind of continuing on now because the eventual event that she wants to go ahead and she's announced that she wants to do is, look, I didn't want to be a part of the whole like blasphemy kind of stuff and, oh, it's so inhumane, it's so anti-Christian. I get it. From this program's perspective, you know, we've talked about sex work and prostitution and things like that on this program, and adult, you know, porn stars. Those topics are, you know, fair game on this program. That's what I expect to talk about here, among things like sugar daddies and other things that are just depraved and debaucherous. So right here, Lily Phillips is just following along. Now, when I look at some of the OnlyFans stars that we get here and what they say and how they're reacting and how they act now, look, it really comes down to this. So they're not your run-of-the-mill porn stars. They're fantasies. But they're also delusional because they're not of the same ilk. Like what you're seeing them doing on OnlyFans, it's amateur. It's amateur hour and it's bullshit. It's because of the fact it's the fantasy. It's because it's that girl that's doing it. That's it. But we don't have necessarily magazines or anything like that are out there, centerfolds, pictorials, where you're really seeing those women being brought to light and in a way that's going to be something amazing. Like, you know, look, there's some beautiful girls on OnlyFans. Larger than life. And it's just in their beauty alone. There's no talent behind there. And there's nothing where they're performing to the level of any porn stars you might have ever heard of, you know, years back. And unfortunately, we've had a rough year for the adult industry. We know we talked earlier in the year about several major porn stars passing away. One was, you know, it was a murder. I think it was a murder-suicide with Jesse Jane. And there was Kathleen Lynn Carter who committed suicide. A gunshot wound. A bad time for that. And the thing is that that's one thing to be said about the mental well-being of these young women and what they decide to go and do after what they've done in their career. Something that's very degenerate and just against the grain of who they are. But we can all talk about the fact that, well, this is being done here and this is very much something that is delusional. It's performing behind closed doors, performing in your bedroom, hibernating basically to do this kind of stuff. And also be done on the cheap. I should make that point as well, too. That most of the other women, they actually made some money off of what they were doing, something of value, and they were protected and they were safe. It might be safe within their own doors, what they're doing now, but like for Lily Phillips to go ahead and open up this door again, it's not Houston, the porn star who has been used to having sex with various guys on camera. Other thing, by the way, is this is also not being done on camera as far as I know. All that Lily Phillips is doing, which she tried to experiment, and for a documentary, she slept with 100 men. I forget how much time it was, but the thing was that after it was all said and done, smell of sex, smell of with condoms and all the other stuff that's going on the floor, in the room. Yeah, disgusting. And then, you know, I mean, Lily Phillips decided it was a good idea to go ahead and document this in a documentary and comment about it. And this poor girl, for whatever reason, she decided to go with this. It's a different mindset now, okay? Because we're looking at the fact that this young girl is deciding to go ahead and do this now. And it's like so far to the extreme of anything that is an OnlyFans product, okay? For those of you not familiar with Lily Phillips, she was born July 23rd, 2001 in Derbyshire, England. British adult entertainer and OnlyFans model. And she's getting viral now for what she's done. Again, a documentary she did on YouTube with Josh Pieters, titled I Slept with 100 Men in One Day. She wants to break the world record, which was set by Lisa Sparks in 2004, of sleeping with 919 men within 24 hours. Now, we know that 1,000 men is just not physically possible. It's not physically possible at all. Now, for her own credit, what she has right now currently, OnlyFans, she has over 36,000 subscribers, maybe more because of this stunt. And she's earned already more than, what, 3 million some odd US dollars on the platform. So, she's doing okay. And her Instagram account right now currently, it stands at 641,000 followers at last check. And I look at some of the posts that she's had for her right now so far, and she put something out even earlier today. And there are people in the comments. They're trying to go ahead and, give her some moral guidance with what she is. Look, there's no reason why she's doing it. No explanation as to why. But that's on her. The thing is that she could have been fine just modeling what she's doing right now and just leave it at that. So what's the mindset of wanting to go ahead and go farther with this? Like, the sex part, that's the part I don't understand. Why does she want to go to all this part? Like, for the OnlyFans models, why do they want to go ahead and think that they can go ahead and move forward with sex? Like, that's going against the antithesis of what the OnlyFans models wanted to do in the first place. Like, if you're going to have sex, they probably have somebody with a partner they're with, or somebody that they feel comfortable with, or someone that's of their own. But, like, for the most part, most of these OnlyFans models just do what they're going to do on themselves for their own, at the behest of what their fans are going to ask for, and they subscribe to her for. Okay? That's pretty much it. It's a different idea here, and that's the thing I don't understand. Other thing is that the record she wants to break is a 20-year-old record. That's when porn was still, like, profitable. Do you understand? The thing is, what is it about her going into this right now and feeling like this is a good idea in terms of, like, for financial gain or for publicity? I don't know what that's going to do. Her parents are someone involved in this in the business as well. But this 23-year-old girl wants to go ahead and move along with this. And even after the 100 men she slept with, immediately after, she got a reaction to it and how she felt. And yeah, doesn't sound like she necessarily enjoyed it.
I think sometimes, like, feeling so, like, robotic. Like, by the 30th, like, when we're getting on a bit, I've got, like, a routine of, like, how we're going to do this. And, like, it just, sometimes you'd, like, disassociate and be like, like, it's not, like, normal sex at all. In my head right now, I can think of, like, 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember. And that's it. But it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? Like, if I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't have known I've done 100, But yeah. I think that was kind of the hard part, is, like, conversing with them. And, like when they'd kind of be like, oh, like, we've only had 2 minutes or 3 minutes and you said 5 on the message.
Did someone say that to you?
Yeah. And obviously it just makes me feel so bad.
The thing is, too, is that it's one thing to be said when there was the oldest profession where prostitutes and Johns got together and, if physical interaction, like, both people, let's make it clear, they were both kind of, like, well aware of what they were doing, well aware of what they've done, right? Where it's out in the open. The thing is, we have this thing right now where this kind of behavior behind closed doors in such an enclosed environment where OnlyFans was allowed to go ahead and fester and allow the adult content to go and go. It's one thing to be said where, where are the guts of these women? They would never do this if they were meant to go ahead and go out. Like, if she had to go and do this on a set, right? On a movie set, in an adult film studio. She had to go there like Linda Lovelace or something like that, or just, Jenna Jameson. Go on that right there and see if she can perform. But this right here, and then the guy she's dealing with, okay, there's obviously sleaze bags that go into this thing right here. But it's one thing to know who the sleaze bags are that are willing to go and just spend money and do this. Like, the thing is that for some women that have done this profession, right, the money is there for it, but she's not getting anything until after the fact. Like, this is like, there's the publicity and the virality of it. It's not like where she's getting paid for it in that way. So what's the MO on this? Why even go in this route in the first place? I don't understand that part, and I can't get what it is that's in her mind that thinks that this is a good idea to go and just try. Because there's a lot of things she could be doing to make money. And sex doesn't need to be it. Like, why even go that route in the first place? And there's no question as to why she's doing that or not. But here she is, and let's just go more into what the comments were being said and what she said about it, her experience on this.
Do you think you should feel bad about that?
I guess when you've promised something to people who support you, it's kind of hard to let them down.
But it's up to you, right? Like when you know.
Yeah.
Have you even processed, do you think, what's happened?
Not yet. God, I won't forget this day, Jesus.
When I decided to start making this
So the thing is, there's no reason for it. Because I feel like when she's doing this here for herself, it's like there's nothing really behind that. There's nothing in the veneer of like, what, she's not enjoying it. I don't think she is. So what's this all about? And the thing is, she wants to do it in next month in January. She's putting out an announcement right now to apply to have sex with Lily Phillips. 1,000 men in 24 hours, location to be determined. She's doing a male talent casting call, must be 18 years and older. Email a photo of your ID, a photo of you holding your ID to your face, and be a part of the record-breaking event. Like, come on. It's the part where I don't get what this whole thing is for and why she wants to go and do this in the first place.
I spent 14 consecutive hours getting ran through, and now I'm going to be doing 24 because I'm going to be going for the world record early February next year. I'm going to go for 1,000.
So there's stories that are out there talking about this week, and I'm going to take what some of the comments have been out there, some of the shock value kind of titles that have been out there put out about this. A story from The Spectator talked about shame on the men exploiting Lily Phillips. So one of those stories that got in here and got brought up that everybody feels like there is like a way to go and spin on this story. Now, the other thing too is that why go for this publicity in the first place? Or just go along with it just to see what would happen. Now, that's the other part I don't understand either. Now, she did this in October, by the way. So within 14 hours, she had those 100 men. And The Spectator had Julie Bindel speak about this story and write about it. And she mentioned how that she has interviewed women who have been required to have sex with 8, 10, 12 men every day when they were in control of a pimp in a brothel. And the terrible effects on their mental and physical health. So she talked about the men that want to join in on such a competition. Why would they want to have sex with a woman after so many others? Saying it's akin to a spectator sport. Now, Lily Phillips admits she is effectively disassociated herself during the challenge, and the 20-year-old says she can only remember the first 5 or so encounters. After that, she attempted to blank it out. So disassociation, a coping mechanism due to extreme trauma. The sex was filmed, and the pornography, which will make those who've profited from OnlyFans, where Lily's videos have appeared, make a lot of money. So they are going to put it out there. Amateur sex, bad sex, okay, with this young girl. Like that's, for people that are the porn aficionados out there, is that what you want? Do you want to see that? Okay, I don't know. When women like Lily talk about just being driven by a sexual desire, it's all part of a fantasy constructed for men. The woman has a fantasy to end up with the type of injuries that will occur from such extreme activities as having sex with multiple men. But the sex industry has no scruples, only desire for profit. Now, wait a minute. Julie, let's make this clear. OnlyFans is supposed to be under control of the creator. This is not Vivid. This is not Playboy. This is not, not the old studios of old. We don't have AVN here involved, okay? These young women that are on OnlyFans, they're under their own independent control. So there's people that are underneath them doing this. Then blame the producers, blame the content creators that are creating her content. Or about the parents who obviously have some financial interest in this or somewhat involved business-wise. So she's talking about like the men are the ones that be profitable. Well, she made the announcement. She put out a talent call. Like, there are some dumb guys out there that are going to go and take this on. If you do, I don't understand you. Guys, I don't understand if you decided to go and do that in the first place. Why? There are so many other girls like Lily Phillips out there in the first place. So many. I'll tell you this. You go over on the sugar daddy sites I talk about all the time. you'll find a Lily Phillips lookalike. I guarantee it. Because remember, when you see that fantasy, are you sure you're going to see that same girl that you saw? You might see the same body. But remember, she's all made up in the clothes, this and that. It's the fantasy being put together in the full light. But at the same time, we have these young women that are deciding to go and get to these adult routes here and go hypersexual. And to get something so degenerative as to go ahead and, resurrect the porn star image. All right. We're talking about, this is not content that's going to be sold at like some a la carte rate high end. No, this is for subscriptions. So it'll be dumped on there. People will watch it and they'll go away. So what kind of money are you going to make off of that? And then obviously we know that her face and her body is going to be seen everywhere. And, the damage that's going to do to her reputation, like she'll never be able to go and look past herself, knowing this is always going to be on her in her career of who she is. That's always part about like it was the money worth it. I mean, what becomes of you after that? Like, where is the protection there of somebody being there to kind of like watch out for her well-being? But nobody is. So Julie Bendel writes here and says that OnlyFans and other sites like it should be shut down. The women caught up in pornography and prostitution should be supported to get out, and the men that drive the demand for such content condemned and held accountable. Hold on. I mean, the women that are caught up in pornography and prostitution. Okay, what is Lily doing right here? Lily Phillips, it's self-imposed. It's self-inflicted. Like, who's putting the idea in her head to go and do 101 guys in 14 hours and deciding to go and go for 1,000 in a day? Who's putting that in her head? Like, who's behind the documentary that's kind of like encouraging this behavior? That's the other part you got to think about. Like, let's not go and just go completely on the guys. The guys are just as culpable. But she says that the content should be condemned and held accountable. Fine. You know what? I agree with Julie. Let's put pornography and prostitution out in front of everybody. Okay? You want to put it in the strip clubs, behind closed doors, adult consent, adults 21 and up that can actually see the content and they have to go and pay a fee to get up front and they go watch it with everybody else? Yeah, go right ahead. And prostitution? Yeah. Shouldn't be behind inside like that. Let it go back out there on the street like it should be, as it was. None of this stuff. She says the sex industry has no scruples, only a desire for profit. All right, fine. So she's got that out there. But it's this thought that this is something that you can do. This girl doesn't need to be doing this. She doesn't need it. There's so much she can be doing for herself. I'm honestly like, before she got into this, I don't know what it was about her that made her decide, okay, let's go into sex. Because the other part is that, look, she's a very attractive woman and she can be modeling and be doing like runway stuff. She can be doing a lot of other things besides this. But somebody put in her head that this was a good idea to go and do this, right? She says she's excited about doing this attempt at 1,000 guys. She's not daunted by the task. So as of this past week, she was going to go after 300 men, the most amount of guys she ever done. And she says it's going to be hard, but in comparison to the 1,000, this should be light work.
101 guys in a day. Now I'm currently in training to do 1,000 guys in a day, and on the 15th December I shall be taking on 300 guys in a day, which is the most amount of guys I've ever done. And so it's going to be hard, but in comparison to the 1,000, this should be light work.
The thing is with her is that when you listen to her, you look at her, she's not aware, like if she's not all up there, like it would be said back in the day, both oars are not in the water. She's not swimming straight. Josh Pieters, who did the YouTube documentary, when it was released on Saturday, December 7th, he says, well, it's not for the weak. If I'm honest, it was hard. She said it didn't feel like casual sex. And she has explained, Lily Phillips, that her conquering her goals had become more of a routine and admitted that she wanted to do sometimes disassociate during the act. But there's not much more that's being said about it. I look at her and I look at her eyes and I just see she's just a lost soul. She doesn't know what she's doing. She does not really thinking about it. But this is being allowed. I mean, she's an empty vessel now. The empty head, any logical thinking right now is gone. So you got to think about, like, what did this girl go through going up for her to go to this point? She's blessed with beauty and youth, and now she's doing something where she's going to just put herself out there just to be just destroyed. For what? What good does that do for her? And then there's the part where New York Post writes about this, and they talk about the desperate loneliness of men and how this works out. Carol Markowitz writes about this, and she talks about that The film she made about the experience put its tearful aftermath on public display, including near universal disgust. Because the other thing too is we haven't seen anything much about this at all. And the other thing too is that we're also getting some blasphemy among some of the people that are doing OnlyFans. Sophie Rain saying she's Christian and she's virgin still. And she wants to go ahead and lose her virginity on camera. All this kind of stuff is just bonkers, okay? It's bullshit. Stop it. We don't want this sanctimonious, hypocritical bullshit right now. We don't need OnlyFans to do this. And the thing was, I've already been against this thing in the first place because I already saw you're going to put it behind a paywall and all this, and all these girls can go and do whatever they want on here. When there's other sites that can kind of do that route, and there's women that are content creators that can do that stuff all they want. And it's interesting how they can make money on other things they could be doing besides having sex with just random guys like that, right? By the way, talk about the fact of IDs and all this. Fact, are we talking about anything about testing for any sexual diseases at all? Like, is anybody talking about that? Because I don't know if this girl's been so very outgoing or whatever. I mean, I see she's done a lot of traveling and stuff, and she's, been in bikini, going all these different places, going sightseeing, whatever, and she's been adventurous. But I don't know, man. I don't know what this all is here. But Carol writes in the story that the lure of OnlyFans is its offer a false sense of intimacy. Instead of scrolling through porn as a means to an end, a man who plays an OnlyFans model to feel like he knows the object of desire. That's the other part. Is that a normal porn? Yeah, it's an object of lust. But the thing is with OnlyFans is that the guys feel love, some kind of love for the woman, and feel like they're going to get an attachment to him. And that is the part that's wrong. That's the part that doesn't make sense at all. It's like you are messing with guys, you're manipulating their heads. And for the women, they're also feeling like the manipulation is working for them. But that's the part that actually does make sense on all this. The woman can paywall some of their content to make it exclusive for certain subscribers, but those private interactions are the draw. They establish a feeling of connection, of intimacy, even when there none exists. There is no intimacy. None. There's a thought process of the guy that feels like there's an emotional attachment to the girl when there's nothing physical, intimate about it at all, right? So fans can pay to text message with her or other models, and a phone call for Lily Phillips is 100 British pounds a minute. It's like 140 odd dollars, right? Or maybe a little bit less than that now because the pounds are a little bit less for America. It's still more like about what, $90 a minute now for her. And paying more, she'll make customized content using her benefactor's name. And the reason why it's happening more and more is because men are overwhelmingly, unbearably alone. A Pew Research study says that 63% of men under age 30 said they are single, compared to 34% of women under the same age. But remember, that part also comes down to the fact that we had this going on going back to post-COVID. It all changed in COVID. OnlyFans became a thing because of COVID, because of lockdown. Everybody got into this, and that's what happens. Carol writes in the story that the lure of OnlyFans is its offer a false sense of intimacy. Instead of scrolling through porn as a means to an end, a man who plays an OnlyFans model to feel like he knows the object of desire. That's the other part. Is that a normal porn? Yeah, it's an object of lust. But the thing is with OnlyFans is that the guys feel love, some kind of love for the woman, and feel like they're going to get an attachment to him. And that is the part that's wrong. That's the part that doesn't make sense at all. It's like you are messing with guys, you're manipulating their heads. And for the women, they're also feeling like the manipulation is working for them. Because the other thing that was also part of this, which is the OnlyFans method, the message. She promised the 101 guys that she had sex with, not just sex, but 5 minutes of conversation. So they were going to get a chance to feel like it was a full experience. Have a chance to talk to her. Feel like they're one with her. They can say what they want to say to her and simp out to her. Right? There's the part of that. And it's like, that's the part that's too far. That's too much. And that's the thing that's really the biggest problem I have here altogether. Is like, why are we getting to that part? Sex is sex in those cases. Like, that's the other problem we have right now. Even the situationships, right? People that have friends with benefits, we are clouding up what that means. Because situationship makes it sound like there's romantic, there's intimacy involved. When friends with benefits was just for sex. but there was no strings attached. This is causing strings attached right now. Now, in the documentary, Carol Mankiewicz makes the point and says that we don't know what the men are thinking or feeling about their side of the experience because the filmmaker never explores it. We expect men just to be okay, always despite a lot of evidence that they clearly are not. Yeah, this shit should not be going on. And we should not be feeling like that guys, the fact that they're already struggling with the fact they can't go ahead and get themselves a woman in their life because of all these things that we put in front, right? You got AirPods on. You're not paying attention to other people. We're not interacting like we used to anymore. It's a creep if we try to go ahead and flirt or even kind of like, approach a woman. All that kind of shit out there. So the part is that, okay, it's one of those things where we're watching girls like pretty girls on TikTok or Instagram and we're watching them dance or we're watching them in poses and all this stuff. That's one thing to admire from afar, right? And just see, okay, it's like a pretty girl in the Maxim magazine or Playboy, whatever it is. But we never got ourselves emotionally attached to anybody. And the idea that you can get emotionally attached to a woman that you're watching on video, like, what? And especially like this right here, in the most extreme case where these guys are going to meet up with her and they want to have time to spend time with her because she's promising it. Oof. I don't like that part. It don't sound right. And there've been a lot of comments on her Instagram comments talking about what she does. And the comments are pretty ruthless. So some of the comments she would get would be, this is what emptiness looks like. Your father doesn't love you. You seriously need to see a therapist. No real man will ever put a ring on your finger knowing what you've done. Others saying, girl, please seek help. We women don't claim her. Another, I feel sorry for you. Another one, you are the definition of a woman who is oppressed and enslaved. What a terrifying nightmare your life is. That's the other part too, is we're getting all this commentary from all these keyboard warriors talking about this too. But it's what people decided going to do in this in the first place. I don't know. I don't get it and I don't like it. It's whatever it is. It's a lot. Jesse Sage wrote about this in Rolling Stone, and that was actually the one thing that made me decide to go and get into this story in the first place. Now, she announced the project in the fall, and Lily Phillips has received online harassment and blowback from civilians and other OnlyFans performers, accusing her from everything from being morally bankrupt to attention-seeking and unsafe. Now, this Rolling Stone article talked about that there was the strengths of the documentary that was put out that gets to the work that goes on behind the scenes of any sexual transaction and the respect shown to Phillips as a successful businesswoman. But at what cost? I mean, look at the kind of work she has to go and do to make the kind of money she's going to make. While she self-deprecatingly calls herself a slut throughout the documentary, she makes it also clear what she's doing is work. She says, I do porn because I enjoy it. And I've only ever felt empowered by the fact of making money off of something that all guys are going to do anyway. All guys are going to sexualize me anyway. Now, Lily Phillips is aware that living under the stigma is the price she pays for the astronomical amount of money she's going to earn. Now, they go on to talk about the fact that this is, after all, a stunt that falls into a broader context of both the history of pornography and the culture of online content creation. Pulling off a stunt of this magnitude and bringing an audience along for the ride is certainly one way of standing above the competition on OnlyFans. Now, for OnlyFans models, they're innovative creators who, for the most part, run their own businesses according to their own dictates. This is not the industry standard, as I make mention of right here on this episode, that much has been made of the fact that she left STI tests up to the individuals, and she broke from industry precautions that are typical. She didn't have any of the participants conduct STI tests through whatever the UK's version of our PASS system is, using condoms for vaginal sex but not oral sex. And she didn't run background checks the way escorts would when sleeping with civilians. She didn't have participants shower beforehand, and she used an Airbnb, even though it could get her banned from the service. There's a lot of things that were wrong with this. That's the other problem too. From an ethical standpoint, from a business standpoint, this was all done wrong. Let's make that a point too. Now, they say in this story that most of us working in the sex industry learn how to manage client expectations, their own emotions, and logistics, and money by doing the job, but it's true of most jobs. Sex workers often talk about the fact that one of the most hardest things about the job is we have to constantly perform happiness and fulfillment, lest we be judged harshly for our choices. Sex workers have no space to express ambivalence or complex feelings about their work. When anti-porn feminists and conservative Christians are both chomping at the bit to shut the industry down, we are loath to be honest when we have a bad day on the job. For this information, we use as ammunition. But in the story, they say that, we got to see her learn on the job, work her feelings through this, asking folks also to recognize her humanity and agency simultaneously. Maybe by going to the extremes, she showed the world just how difficult and nuanced this line of work really is. Perhaps more of us should be brutally honest about this complexities of our jobs. What it should do is, it should kind of filter out the people that are just being wannabes on here and trying to do it. And that should not be a part of this at all. Let's just make that point too. And by the way, Jesse Sage, who wrote this article for Rolling Stone, is a Pittsburgh-based writer and sex worker. And there's a lot of work on this kind of here. So, from her experience, she's making a good point as well. The part is that there's just things that I see in this story all around that just, it's the intimacy part of what OnlyFans is trying to go ahead and promise or promote, which is a big problem. And the other part is that if she's trying to do sex work here and stepping to another level of sex work, which we've seen in the porn industry for years, but, whether you liked it or not, they actually did a lot of things where they actually did proper care and created a clean set for anybody else going to go ahead and interact with the talent. Because she's not being treated as talent. She's doing this on as like some experiment, but there's no real thing that's being done here for her to go ahead and be properly protected. The least is she's going to go and have fun with it. Well, make sure she's having it clean, have it safe. But who's not doing that? Like, this is almost like, this is where I feel like when I see this story right here and I see what she's doing right now, she doesn't really care about her life. She doesn't really care about what she's doing here. And that's something where the OnlyFans models, that's really where they come from. Because one thing where I understand some of the porn stars that have done this in the past and, the adulation and the stardom and what it brings to them. But like, there's not much understanding except for the money that this girl's going to make off of this. But it's like, there's something wrong here. But all I gotta say is just poor thing. Like, what are you thinking? But, she's going to do it and decide to go this route. But like, other problem is like, look at the guys she's going to be with. These are not, there's a lot of things that can be wrong, that could go wrong in these kind of things right now. Of 1,000 guys she's going to find that are going to online go ahead and try to reach out to her, connect, and they're all going to have the same impression. Well, we won't what those 100 guys are supposed to get. 5 minutes of conversation. When they're missing the whole point. If you're going to be in this thing, if you're real honestly going to be in with Lily Phillips, you want to be there to be depraved and debaucherous.